Right, guys. Hi, everyone. I was challenged by Penny Horner, probably about a month ago to share my cancer survivor story as part of the Inspirational Cancer Survivor Challenge, which is basically just our way of sharing our stories with the community and other cancer survivors and caregivers and stuff, basically letting them know they're not alone. I will cry here because that's just kind of how I roll. Basically what happened is in 2008, I was 21 years old. I just celebrated my birthday, and I was diagnosed with stage 1 cervical cancer. I never thought in a million years that I would be 21 years old and that I would have cancer. But, the big man upstairs had other plans because, when life throws you a curveball, you just keep rolling with it. So I, unfortunately, bear with me, this is going to be a lot of emotional things happening here. I fortunately, though, because I had my symptoms and everything caught early through a standard pap smear, I didn't have to go through chemo or radiation, which is very fortunate, but I did have to go through several surgeries to have it surgically removed. Incredibly painful. I don't wish that upon anybody, and it was incredibly uncomfortable. What basically happens is there is a procedure done that basically removes cancer cells in your cervix. The problem is, though, is it can't be done as a one and done kind of procedure. It has to be done in a series of procedures over a few months. So basically, my whole journey started with, I had my pap smear, I got my results, it came back and said, hey, you have low-grade epithelial lesions, which for some people, if you've ever had that, it basically just means, hey, you have some changes in your cells. It happens. Some of us get it, and it goes away on its own. We don't have to do anything. Nothing has to happen. Well, what happened was, they did that. We found out that's what I had, and then they were like, you know what? We're gonna do a simple procedure. We'll do additional testing, and then we'll come back in 3 months and we'll test you again. Well, then in that 3-month period, I went from having low-grade lesions to high-grade lesions. I'm like, okay. I was like, well, you're asking all these questions. Like, is that normal? Does that happen? Like, where does this come from? And I'm like, and the first thought is everybody, like, before you even think about it, asking, well, it's probably because of HPV. No, believe it or not, I was one of those rare cases. I never had HPV. I never needed the vaccine. I had never been exposed to that. It was not something that, was ever brought up to me. I'd been tested for it, but it was never a problem or an issue. Sorry. So when the 6-month marker hit and come to find out that, yes, I do have high-grade lesions, they were like, okay, well, we're going to do the same procedure we did for the low-grade, and we'll retest you in another 3 months. Okay, well, in 3 months, I come back, we retest, and come to find out I had gone from low grade to high grade to full-blown cancer in a 9-month period. That's terrifying to think that in 9 months, being continuously checked, I went from having no cancer to having cancer. We did a procedure called a LEAP procedure, which is basically what they do is they take a loop, which is basically a cauterized loop. It's heated, and they take it and they remove the inner walls of your cervix. And by doing so, I had to have that done, same thing, every 3 months. And finally, by the 9-month mark, I got testing done, and it come to find out, best news I could have ever gotten. At 9 months after my initial saying, hey, we're sorry, Miss Rainey, but you have cancer, I was finally cancer-free. Which, that's the best news anybody could ever have. Now, given that was in 2008. So in 2008, I was diagnosed with cancer. In 2009, I no longer had cancer. That's the shortest journey I can think of in most cancer patients' worlds, because most people think, oh, well, you have cancer and you're going to fight it for years. And normally that is the case. Like, hi, Jane. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. When a lot of people get diagnosed with cancer, like this amazing woman right here is my mom. My mom was diagnosed with cancer a year after I was. And the year after me, when she was diagnosed, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. That's the highest stage you can get. You can't go any higher than that. So, where my cancer journey stopped, her cancer journey had just started. So I went from being a cancer survivor to a caregiver. And I ended up being her role. I learned more about how to take care of people and how to, like, what drug concoctions you were supposed to do, and, you know, what medications she could take, and, you know, therapy she could do, and how to just simply make her feel better. And, you know, how to tell my family members, like, okay, well, this is what she can have, and this is what she can't have, and she just doesn't simply have the energy today. And that happens to a lot of us. Like, I can tell you that when I went through my cancer journey, even though it was so short and so small, and I only had to have it surgically removed, I was so tired all the time. I didn't have the energy. I was uncomfortable in my own skin. I didn't want anybody to look at me. It was just simply like, you know, it was like, you know, where do you go from that? And being a young age, when I had my cancer, it was like, it was hard to relate to your friends, because, you know, most of my friends were in college. Most of my friends were like, oh, you know, I met this guy last night at a bar, and, you know, we were hanging out, and I think he's really cute. And I couldn't be like that, because instead of me being like, oh yeah, no, I met a guy at a bar and we're going to start dating, instead, my experience was, oh hey, yeah, I had another doctor's appointment with my doctor and my margins still aren't clear. My friends could no longer relate to me, and that puts you in an isolating situation, and it's hard for you to feel happy and feel strong in those moments when you feel like you are the only person this is happening to. And it's terrifying, because most people assume that cancer is an old person's disease. Well, it's not. It happens to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing in the world, how healthy you've been taking care of yourself. It doesn't matter if you've been doing juice cleanses, going to the gym 7 days a week, or if you've been sitting on your couch, Netflix binging, and chowing down on a bag of potato chips. Cancer simply just doesn't give a crap anymore, because it's going to basically throw a monkey wrench in your life and be like, you know what? We are now the center of attention for you, and we're here. You're going to have to pay attention, because we're not going anywhere. So this is how this works now. And that was the same way with my mom. My mom could no longer work. My mom could no longer do things on her own. There wasn't, you know, a day where she could go to the grocery store by herself or go out and do chores. We had a farm, we had horses, we had all these animals that needed to be taken care of, and she couldn't do that by herself anymore. She had to rely more and more on people. And if you knew people, if you knew my family, it is very hard for a Rainey or a Dawson to ask for help. But you know what? Ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. And it took me a long time to learn that it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be that person, to be like, you know what? I'm not okay. I'm scared. I'm terrified, because you don't have to put on a brave face all the time. You don't have to be the person who's like, you know what? I'm a brave warrior, cancer ribbons all over me, like wear it as a shield. No. It's okay to be like that. And you know what? I've thanks to Penny, for one of the few years that I was off work, I got to volunteer at the Cancer Resource Center in the Dorothy McCormick Building, helping other cancer survivors understand their symptoms and understand what they were going through. And it was amazing, because I was able to help them take their power back, be able to help them understand what was happening to them. Basically, I told one lady, because one lady was like, I'm super upset because, I feel like my family is isolating me because they don't want to talk about my illness. And I'm like, you know what? It's your cancer. It's your cancer. If you want to talk about it, you talk about it. That's how this works. Because when you want to talk about your cancer, you talk about your cancer. They don't get to just walk out of the room and ignore it like it doesn't exist, because this is how this works. When the moment we stop treating it like it's not there, like it's invisible, like it's not, sorry. The moment we start treating it like it's invisible, like it's not happening, that's the moment that we give the disease a power to just ruin us, to stick us in a hole somewhere and be like, you know what? I'm sick and I don't feel like doing anywhere, and I'm going to sink down in this depression right now and just be like, you might as well just walk all over me. But instead, I told that lady, I'm like, no, you know what? You need to gather your family up and basically just say, hey, listen, I have cancer and I'm sick, but I want to talk about it with you guys. I want to talk about the changes that are about to happen. I want to talk about that I don't feel good and that I need help and that I don't have enough energy to do everything on my own, because that happens. There are days where you're going to feel like Superwoman. You're going to feel like, you can vacuum the floor and paint the walls and go grocery shopping and make all the breakfast for kids and make their lunches and make dinner for everybody. And then the next day is going to hit and chemo flu happens, and then you're going to spend the next week sitting on the couch because you don't feel like moving. And it happens, and it's okay. And everybody always expects for everybody to be happy and put on this brave face when you get around, and you don't have to. You don't have to put on that mask to say that, I'm okay, because you know what? It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to cry. It's okay to tell people, you know what? I'm afraid of dying. I'm afraid that I'm going to die. And it's okay to say that. And it's okay to tell them that I don't trust my doctor. And I don't trust my family. And it's okay to say those things, because it's okay to put a face to cancer and finally just go, you know what? I am not okay. And that is fine. Because the moment you do that, the moment you say those words, the world finally just goes, you know what? I thought you were brave this entire time, but you are much braver now to just simply tell me how you're really feeling. And the other thing is, and I cannot stress this enough, and I have tons of friends. I have tons of friends that are cancer survivors, and I love all of them. But sometimes we don't want to talk about our cancer. Sometimes we don't. I have no problem sharing my story. Kind of, sort of. I didn't start sharing my personal story, like what I went through, until about 2 years ago. Until, somebody was like, hey, would you mind standing up in front of an entire banquet hall full of people and telling them all about what you went through and all about your journey and all about how it happened, and then include, roll in your 2-in-1 story and include your caregiver story about your mom. I couldn't say those words. I couldn't share that story as much as I wanted to. I couldn't, because it was like, I want to share those stories, but I just wasn't ready yet. And now I'm ready, because I think it's one of those things that every cancer journey is different. I hear it all the time where it's like, oh, well, my aunt had breast cancer. Okay, well, I understand that your aunt had breast cancer, but not everybody's breast cancer is the same. Not everybody's cervical cancer is the same. I had cervical cancer. My mom had cervical cancer. The difference is mine wasn't HPV related, and I'm still here. Mine was caught super early because I got my pap smears done every year, because I'm a super stickler for that. Like, I'm on top of that, getting my doctor's appointments done. My mom was part of that baby boomer era where they don't want to go to the doctor and they don't want to acknowledge that something's wrong. And for the longest time, my mom kept trying to tell me, it's menopause. It's nothing. There's nothing wrong with me. Like, it's nothing. I'm fine. Everything's okay. When in reality, she had cancer growing in her body uncontrollably. And now my mom's not here anymore. My mom fought so hard for 4.5 years. And I can't be angry with her. I'm never going to be angry at my mom, because I can't imagine somebody fighting that hell inside their body for 4.5 years the way she did, with such valiant strength and such grace and such beauty in her heart, and always constantly asking us how we were doing and never wanting to worry about herself. I can't be angry at that. But what I can be angry at is a disease that took her from me. So that's why I want to share my story. And that's why I want to nominate other people to share their stories, because all of our stories are different. None of our stories are the same. And all of us take it in a different way. Some of us find out we have cancer and bury ourselves in a hole because we think it's the end of our lives. Oh my God, I have cancer. I can't move forward. I can't go back. I'm just, you're in a constant form of stasis because life just stopped. And then some of us are like, oh my God, I have cancer. You know what? I'm going to live life to the fullest. I'm going to make every decision I can. I'm going to go do things. I'm going to go to Europe. I'm going to run cross country because I can. I'm going to go train for a marathon because why not? And then there's some of us that are like, you know what? I have cancer and I'm going to make other people's lives better for it. So I'm going to use my time to help researchers understand what's happening. And I'm going to take my time to comfort other people. And I'm going to take my time to help people understand what another person is going through when they find that diagnosis. Because you feel isolated, you feel lonely, you feel like crap and you're scared for it, but you put on a face because you try to be strong for everyone around you. When in reality, we don't have to be, but we do it anyways because we care of those around us. So what I'm saying, guys, is, if you know somebody that has cancer, you can ask them how their day is going. You can ask them, how are you feeling? But just simply, we don't always want to talk about our cancer. We don't always want our cancer to be our entire lives. Sometimes we want to talk about our hobbies. Like right now, I can't show you the rest of my room because it's a hot mess, because right now I'm standing in my studio and it's covered in vinyl. There's scraps everywhere. But they want to be treated like a normal human being. They want to be treated like we didn't just get stamped with cancer patient across our forehead. We want to be treated like it's fine and it's okay and our life is still moving forward, and we need those things. And we need you guys and our friends and family members to treat us. Sorry, I'm still crying. We need you guys and our friends and family members to help us continue to move forward and care and ask questions and constantly be that center of person of just, because a lot of people, when they find out they get sick, you find out really truly who your friends are, because not everybody can handle having a family member who's sick. It sucks. It's hard. It's terrible because it is a complete and total just gut-wrenching feeling, not only for the person who's sick, but for their family. It happens, and it's okay. But what I'm saying is, I need for you guys to constantly be there for that person. Even just tell them, hey, I'm just a text message away. I'm a phone call away. Send them stupid gifts because you think they're funny. Send them a joke because you thought it was hilarious. Ask them, say, hey, I'm at the grocery store right now. Do you need anything? Those are small, simple questions that even though you may think they're small, you may think that you're bothering them. Those little teeny tiny things are okay, because a lot of times when we're sick, when we don't work, when we're to the point to where we can't still continue to do our daily lives, we need people to continue to get us out of the house. Take us shopping, take us to breakfast, take us to lunch, take us out to the park, even to just, walk around. Even if, we feel that maybe we might not have the energy to do everything that we want to do, because we want to do it all, because who doesn't? Just get us out of the house and get us to stop dwelling on the fact that, I have 3 doctor's appointments this week. And, you know what? Who cares if you have 3 doctor's appointments? On Wednesday, we're going to the park. Make plans ahead of time. And the reason I say that is because then they have something to look forward to. It becomes a thing that they're striving for. Like, oh my God, on Wednesday I'm going to the park. On Saturday I'm going to breakfast with Susan. And on Tuesday I'm going shopping with Linda. Like, those are the things that we want to hear. We want to plan for things. Like, even if it's a spur of the moment thing, you can just call them up and say, hey, do you want to just, take a moment to just be like, hey, can I stop by? Do you want to hang out for a little bit? I'll pick us up lunch and I'll bring it to us. Those are little things you can do. And it's one of those things where it's more of a mental thing than it is a physical thing, because cancer is a complete and total mental it'll tear you down before it builds you up. And our community, you guys, friends, family, anybody, just being there for us is like the best thing that you can do for us. Even if you think you're being a bothersome, just simply checking in and being like, hey, was in the neighborhood. Would you like to stopping out and get lunch? That is something that we will look forward to. I can't tell you enough, because after being diagnosed with cancer, come to find out, I thought cancer would be the most horrible thing I could encounter. And as horrible as it is to say, my cancer compared to my mom's was a walk in the park. But the monster that preceded that, or the monster that came after that, completely destroyed my life. Only for a simple tumor that grew in my head that's not even cancerous. It just completely destroyed everything. It destroyed my hearing. It destroyed my balance. Migraines, headaches, slurred speech. Not being able to complete an entire thought process the moment you get a headache because you can't remember what you left off, or getting mind fog systems because I got lost in a store and I can't remember where I'm at. Those are the things that I get to enjoy now after my cancer diagnosis, because now that my cancer's gone and treated, this is what I have left. But, it's okay though, because it's okay to not be okay. And that's why I'm always so positive about everything. Everybody's always like, why are you so joyous? Why are you so happy? How can you stay and be like, on top of everything? And why are you so always, like giving to everyone else? And it's because I learned, took me a long while to understand this, but I learned that it's okay to not be okay. But I can't let it just shut my system down. I can't let it just put me in a hole and put me in a dark place, because being in a dark place makes you a dark person, and I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person who's be like, hey, how can I help you? Hey, can I get you anything? Because I am that person. I'm that person that makes gifts for no reason. I'm that person that brings flowers to the office because I can. I'm that person that thinks, oh, well, this would be a nice thing to do for someone else. I'm that person. And it's just simply because I've been to the dark place. It's not a good place to stay. And now that I understand that it's okay to not be okay, I'm okay with not being okay. So just remember simple things. Remind your cancer survivor that they don't always have to put on a brave face, that they're allowed to be scared, that they're allowed to fear things, that they're allowed to be angry, and that they're allowed to not be okay, that it is okay for them to not be okay. They don't always have to be strong. Remember, as friends and family, to always be there for them, even if it's just a simple phone call, a simple text message, a stupid joke that you sent them, asking them if they want to go to lunch next week, asking if they want to go shopping this weekend. Simple things, just small little gestures. Even if you just want to go walk around the mall, but you don't actually buy anything. Just small, simple gestures that are making them look forward to something and getting them out of the house so that they're not dwelling in on themselves. Those are huge things. I can't stress enough how much that made a difference for my mom. Just getting her out of the house and taking her places and going things, even if we just rode around the car all day. And the other thing is guys, I love all of you. Even if I never see you, even if I never talk to you, all of you that have basically been here, even if you weren't there when my cancer journey started, even if you weren't there when my mom's cancer journey started, I love all of you. I love all of you for constantly reminding me that it's okay to get a late start on life because of problems. And it's okay that I laugh at myself. And it's okay to make a fool of myself sometimes, like I'm doing right now. Sorry. And I love all of you for constantly reminding me that big grand gestures are not the meaning of life. It's just a simple wave, smile, or a hug that you can give somebody that matters the most. So I love all of you, and I hope that what you take away from this message the most is that no cancer journey is the same, and that all cancer survivors are different, and that all of us could use a hug. Alright guys, I love all of you. I'll see you later. Bye!